Hello, my name's Bigun, not Uncle Sam, or at least Bigun is the name I go by. In my last video, I mentioned about polio, how the scourge of polio changed a lot of our activities. Our parents were afraid to let us go outside because they were afraid we were going to get polio. One of our classmates had polio. He didn't have it as bad as others, but he actually played basketball on the school teams. But anyway, it was quite the thing. The COVID lockdown and everything kind of reminded me of that. And when I mentioned about polio, one of my YouTube mentors sent me an email about how about 10 years ago they went to a museum and they had an iron lung there, and anyway he had to explain to his daughter what it was. Well, iron lungs, they weren't new back in those days. The original ones looked like something out of a submarine. You know, the person's head just stuck out of the end of it, and had a rubber seal around their neck. And in the later days, they got them a little more smaller and compact, and where they could be moved around. What the iron lung did, it would pull a slight vacuum on the body from the neckline down, and that would cause the person to breathe in air, and then it would raise the pressure in the chamber, and they would exhale, because polio stopped people from breathing when it was really bad. So those were the big scares. Movie tone news. Anytime you went to the movies, they had movie tone news, which well, I remember the movie tone news of the war in Korea, and it just, that was just our way of getting outside film of things going on. But almost always you had somebody in an iron lung. That was the big thing, and they'd show a room with a row of iron lungs, and people, usually young people, with their heads sticking out, and it was quite the scary thing. So anyway, the big thing that happened was Dr. Jonas Salk developed a polio vaccine. Oh my goodness, talk about earth-shaking news. It was earth-shaking. So when it became available, all of us school kids, we were just lined up, and the county doctor and the county nurse and maybe a helper were there, and they had the glass syringes and needles, with the needles as big as a 50 caliber elephant gun. But anyway, they would grab you by the arm and like that, and give it some kids would pass out, and some kids would be screaming, and but they didn't have any choice. They just gave you the shot, period. That was all there was to it. Today there's a bunch of what I'd call them blooming idiots that I'm not going to let my child have any polio vaccines. I'm not going to let my child have any measles vaccines. And, those were great things. I don't know. That's their choice. But polio was all but eliminated around the world with but then some of the countries in Africa and other places, they had the so-called religious people going around saying, "Oh, don't take like that, don't take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine," and they had the military, paramilitary groups going around and going after people that were actually giving the vaccine. So it was all but eliminated. But polio's now a thing again. But I hope that nobody else gets it. But same with measles, the measles vaccine. As I said yesterday, or in the last video, that we used to have measles parties and mumps parties and various things. Smallpox vaccinations. That was quite the thing. The county doctor, the doctor went around to the schools and like that. He had this cork with all the needles in it, and he'd grab you by the arm and shoot, shoot, shoot. And I still got my vaccination mark, and that's been, oh my goodness, that's been 75 years ago. But none of us got smallpox, or at least the bad part. We had chicken pox. That was another one of the parties, chicken pox. You got the mittens that were tied on that you couldn't, your moms put them on, and calamine lotion, and some got baths with oatmeal in it, and there was a lot of home remedies, and they probably worked. I remember the gloves very well. But anyway, back to the school. The school doctor, the county doctor, came around. Whenever they did physicals and like that, all the kids were stripped down to their undies, and that was back in the days where the boys had tidy whities and the girls had plain white panties, and no cartoon characters or anything like that on them. So they'd line you all up, and the doctor, they'd check you over, and the boys would be told to turn their head and cough, and and there'd be some parents around there, so nobody thought anything about it. Then by the third grade, I changed. We moved, and the school that we went to wasn't quite as advanced as the elementary school, and because in this one all 12 grades were in the same building basically. So, but that was kind of the things that you remember. And I said, when the COVID was going around, and the vaccine came out for COVID, and it brought back a lot of memories of Dr. Jonas Salk's vaccines, polio vaccines, and how that they went into overdrive to produce enough that all the children could have it, and as part of their school. And so it's just the way it was. Kids were kids. They got you down to your skivvies. Nobody thought anything about it. Wasn't any embarrassment at it. There might have been one or two kids were embarrassed about it, but that usually didn't last too long. When you looked around and you saw 30 plus kids dressed in the same basic garment as you were, well, usually laughter got started and giggling. So, but the iron lungs, they were quite the thing. And then they finally got them down to a unit that, you know, they strapped it on, and you know, it did the breathing, and the person could be going around in a powered wheelchair with power on it. And, you know, things just changed. So I don't know what it is today. I mean, I don't know whether anybody would recognize polio if they, you know, if a child come down with it. And but anyway, well, tomorrow is 4th of July. Great day, the birthday of the country. You know, the 200th celebration. Oh my goodness! In 1976, I had my new service truck, white with the green white farm equipment stripes on it, and had American mags for the wheels, with the 1200 16.5 flotation tires, and had my fire department lights up on the bar light up on top, and a big rotating yellow light in the middle, and the PA system, and so we went in the big 200th year celebration, and went down through there and playing music that I'd recorded at the radio station, and one of the things that some people got upset about, I had "Hail to the Chief." Yeah, so anyway, the chief never showed up. But that was what it was back in 1976, and it was quite the big celebration, and you know, so and of course the other big scare was Y2K. You know, oh my goodness, the world was going to come to an end because computers would only have up to 19 as the first two numbers, but I don't know, never caused any problem. My computers all changed. We got our first home computer in 1978, and kids grew up with it in the house, and you know, we've upgraded over the years, and I don't know what you could upgrade more than what we got now. But yeah, it's just times change, and AI. That's the new computer thing, is artificial intelligence, and well, I've sworn for years that my computer had artificial intelligence, because when I'd be thinking about something, I'd go to Google it. Well, I'd get about 4 or 5 letters into it, and here would be what I was wanting to ask. So anyway, happy 4th of July to everybody. We'll cut this one short. I got to get back behind the camera. Got hung up in a mole run when I was coming out from behind the camera, so I got to be careful not get into a mole run. Now I got ruts in the yard I got to fill in. Take care. Don't take any wooden nickels, and happy 4th of July.